Welcome to Criminally Creative. This is episode 22. Today is Saturday, June 19th, 2021. My name is Susan. You can find me on Ravelry as Legal Eagle and on Instagram as Criminally Creative Podcast. I think that's all the places. You can email me at criminallycreativepodcast@gmail.com if you prefer, and all that will be at the end of the podcast as well and down below. Anyway, so welcome to the podcast slash floss tube, I guess, since I've added cross stitch recently. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you checking me out. If you are returning, I appreciate you coming back. I know I'm very sporadic, so just consider it a surprise when I show up. I am, again, I always say I'm going to try to get more regular about this, and I really do need to, because since I've added cross stitch, this may be a little long. I am going to skip some of the details. If you're interested in my knitting projects, I put all the details of those on Ravelry in my projects. If for some reason you are one of those people that cannot access Ravelry comfortably, please feel free to email me or ask a question below, and I'll be glad to share any details or answer any questions you have about what I've used in those projects. And for my cross stitch projects, I actually have a spreadsheet linked below that's on Google Drive that will give you all the information about fabric size, if it's 2/2, 1/1, whether I'm using the called for floss or if I've made any substitutions. Excuse me. Sorry, the allergies are hell this year, and I'm constantly sniffling. So anyway, so I do have a lot to share with you today, so I will jump in and we'll start with the verdicts, which is what I call my finished objects. All of these are in floss tube lingo FOs, but not FFOs, because the knitting projects have not yet been washed and blocked, and the cross stitch project has just been finished the stitching. I haven't decided exactly what to do with it yet. But so start with the knitting. I finished my second pair of socks for the year. If you've been with me for a while, you know that in previous years I've done a pair of socks a month. This year I'm not putting that self-imposed burden on myself, and but I always carry a pair of socks around in my pocketbook. So this is the second pair I've finished this year. The yarn is Mustache yarn in the Grand Canyon colorway. I do all of my socks on US 0 needles, 2 at a time, toe up, except for a rare occasion that I want to actually do a pattern sock. I actually made the legs on these a little bit longer than normal, mainly because I wanted to get back to the purple stripe. So anyway, so these need a bath, and then they will go into my sock rotation. Unlike a lot of people, I actually wear my hand knit socks year round to work. I don't wear them casually in like lace up tennis shoes and stuff. They tend to slide around on my feet too much, but the shoes that I wear to work pretty much year round, they're great in. And because my office freezes me out year round, I prefer to wear socks on my feet. The second knitting project I finished, you saw in progress, is the Rami Hill Mystery Knit Along for 2021. I forgot to check to see if she's actually released the name for this yet, because this has been over for a few weeks. But again, I have not had time to block it or weave in the ends, so I will probably show you this again once it looks like it's supposed to look. I did this in Tosh Merino Light plus Tweed. So there's little, I don't know if you can see, there's a couple little areas. The camera's not really going to pick it up. There's a couple little tweedy bits in there, but the purple colorway is called Medieval, and the pinky colorway is called Copper Pink. So as you can see, there's some twisted stitches and lace that will be much more visible once I've gotten this blocked and opened it up some. But Rami Hill is one of my favorite knitwear designers, and so I often, or almost always, do her mystery knit along each spring, and usually do a couple more for projects throughout the year. So my cross stitch verdict was one of my WIP Go goals for June, actually, and it was to finish this. This was my oldest WIP, which is one. It's a little kit by Jan Lynn that I picked up back in 2016 when I had a brief blip of about a month or two where I was going to get back into cross stitch that didn't really stick. So and I guess I don't know if I think it's called Big Girl Panties. And it just says, you know, put on your big girl panties and deal with it. I'm not sure what significance the chicken has with it, other than it just goes with the pattern. Now, I did this, like I said, this was a kit from Jan Lynn, so I did this in the kit floss. A couple of things. It's supposed to have a border around it, and honestly, I just didn't want to do it, so I left it off. I'm not going to frame this. Obviously, I have not washed it yet. You can see where old-fashioned me had used a pencil to mark the center of the project, and that hadn't come out yet, but I hope that usually comes out in washing. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with this. I think I might put it on like the front of a project or tote bag of some sort, like put some, you know, regular fabric around it and do that. But I haven't really decided yet. So for now, it will, as Pam and Steph say, go in the UBB. So that is, oh, no, that's not all of my verdicts. I do have one other verdict that I will have to put a picture of in here because it has already been given to my coworker. And I meant to take a video of it before I gave it to her so I could insert it in here, and I totally forgot. So you'll have to settle for a picture of it. But it is pattern, I think the pattern name is Autocorrect Duck. It's from Steno Stitches on Etsy. And I shamelessly copied Jody from the Steel City Sisters finish for this. She had done this exact same pattern in almost exactly the same way and finished it in pretty much exactly the same way. And I completely stole her idea. I have a coworker that just turned 50, and she has rubber ducks all in her office, and it's a running work joke that's been going on for the 20 years that she's been working with me. And so when I saw this and saw Jody's finish of it, it was just absolutely perfect, and I had to copy it. And Jody, I think, is fully aware because I asked her a question on Instagram about what size she ordered for the bathtub thing. So anyway, everybody in the office got a good kick out of it, and it went over well. So that was a lot of fun, and the stitching part was actually really quick. So anyway, I have a, sorry, come here. Come here. I left my door open, so my cat is down at my feet, and she's not usually in here when I'm recording, but she doesn't want to come up at the moment. So, anyway, so that puts me on to what I've been working on, which is a lot more cross stitch than knitting. So, we'll just get to it. The only two knitting projects I'm going to show you are the two I've actively been working on besides, I have been working on my scrap blankets, as they're called on WhipGo. So I've put some squares into my stripe miter and my sock blanket and a couple rounds on my granny thing. But again, I'm not going to show you those right now. Part of my thinking, and maybe there's a couple of things I'd like to do, maybe special videos on. I'm thinking that I might do a video at some point to show you kind of where my blanket stands since the beginning of the year. I also have, because my parents have been cleaning stuff out, I have a lot of older projects that have never really been finished, that I did when I was much younger, and a couple that my mom did, that I thought I might show you, because I started cross-stitching. I've found what I believe is my absolute first cross-stitch project, that based on the date on it, I would have been, I think, 7 when I did it. And it's one of those stamped cross stitches that you made the X's over top of. It's not literally a counted cross stitch. Excuse me. Anyway, so it's very interesting. So I might do an episode to just show you some of the older stuff that I found, since I seem to have too much every time I do a regular episode. Anyway, back to the works in progress. The first set of works in progress are the current socks that I'm working on. Like I said, I do all my socks on US Zeros, 2.2 millimeter needles, toe up, 2 at a time. And this yarn is from Kirby Werby. The colorway is called Hells to the Yes. And hopefully you can maybe kind of see. So Kirby Werby is a genius when it comes to self-striping yarn, and I don't know how the woman has the patience she does to do the fantastic things that she does with self-striping yarn. So obviously you can't see the whole colorway, but this is, besides the fact that it's a rainbow progression of, I believe, 10 stripes of rainbow colors alternated with gray. Hopefully I'll be able to cut that out. I just yelled at my cat because I looked over and she was chewing on a string of yarn hanging off a blanket that's over here that needs to be washed. Segue, my cat is a yarn eater, not just a yarn chewer. She is a yarn chew it off, swallow it whole, and it comes out the other end. So for the most part, I usually keep my craft room door shut and don't let her in here. But over the past year, she's been good about just coming in and laying around and not getting into anything. But every once in a while, if she finds a string hanging. Anyway, so back to Kirby Werby's wonderful yarn. Like I said, this is a rainbow gradient of, I believe, 10 stripes of rainbow alternated with 10 stripes of gray, but the gray is a gradient. Like, so you see that's lighter and it's slightly getting darker until it gets to a dark, so there's a darker charcoal gray coming up next after that. And then I think it goes, so I think the gray goes light to dark, back down to light, so kind of a, and then the rainbow, I think, is about 10 stripes of rainbow. I don't think the tag says. It's a 20, yeah, it's a 20 stripe yarn. It does say. So I believe it's 10 stripes of rainbow and 10 stripes of gray, but the gray kind of goes light to dark, back down to light. So undulating kind of. Anyway, it's beautiful, and other than the fact that I just don't knit on socks, I keep these in my pocketbook and just knit as my walking around. I can't wait to get these done. So, the other knitting project that I've worked on regularly, and I'm trying to get finished this month, is called Shadow Cable Baby Blanket. It's a Bernay pattern, and I'm using Bernay Blanket yarn, which is a chunky yarn in the almond colorway. I showed you the very beginning of this last time. This yarn was left over from the Baby Yodas, the crochet Baby Yodas that I made last year, and it's just so soft, and I mean, it's an acrylic yarn, but it's just so soft and squishy. I thought it would make a wonderful baby blanket. So I've actually made it already as long as the pattern calls for to start the next, to start the end. But I have this much yarn yet left, which of course is chunky, so that's not as much as it really looks like. But I think I've got enough to do about 2 or 3 more repeats of the cable before I do the seed stitch at the end. So I figure I'll use up as much of it as I can. And that is going to be one of my co-workers. His wife is due with their first child in July, so that is going to go to them. Since I don't know them as well, I wanted to give them that was definitely something that was definitely machine washable and dryable. My go-to yarn for baby blankets these days is typically cotton, which is usually machine washable and dryable, but I had this on hand and wanted to use it up with a baby blanket, so they get to be the lucky recipients. So that's all the knitting whips that I have to show you, but I have a lot of cross stitch whips. Of course, it's been 6 or 7 weeks, so there's been a lot of stuff that I've worked on. So let me get started. First, we'll start with the stitch alongs that I've been doing. The first is the Modern Folk Embroidery, the Fruits of Plenty. It's the 2021 stitch along. I have this perfectly centered on the Q-step, so I'm not going to take it off. So I will put a picture here of what mine looked like at the end of May. And I am still working on June. I have about 1,000 more stitches to go. So all this part in here is June. And I've just got to finish this part in here, and it will be done. Still really enjoying that. Mainly what I have been doing is most days I try to get about 2 threads done on that so that it's just slow and steady progress. And then usually at least once a week or so, I sit down and do like 500 stitches on it, instead of, just 2 threads or whatever. So, and again, I'll just say again, all the information on what fabric I'm using, what floss I'm using, that sort of stuff is in the Google Drive spreadsheet that's linked below. The other stitch along that I'm currently doing, wrong one, is the Made to Create. Oh, and I should have said, this bag is from the Brass Button Shop. If you can get one of her bags, I highly recommend them because I really like the handle. And although I prefer an 8x8 Q-snap, they are big enough to fit an 11x11 if that's your preferred size. So this one is in a project bag made by, I think this one's Gamma's Treasures. I believe that that's Gamma's Treasures. Not 100% sure about that. Yes, it is, because it's got the, she always includes a little floss thing in hers. So this is a stitch along. 5 of 6 parts have come out. So the 6th part will come out this next week on the 25th. And I have done the first 5 parts. Obviously it says create. And so the last part is going to be an E. And then from what I've seen in the like picture where what's left is blurred out, I think there's going to be a border around the whole thing. So that, I don't know what I'm going to do when I finish. I don't have a lot of wall space for hanging. As you can see, what flat walls I do have are filled pretty much with cabinets. What you can't see is that the wall in front of me is actually slanted because I live in a geodesic dome. So I don't have a ton of flat wall space. So that too may also become like a front panel on a tote bag or something like that. And then my May Whip Go projects, which I know I mentioned my last podcast was May 1st. And so I'm pretty sure I mentioned what those projects were. I can't remember if I showed you or not, but I did meet my goals for May on those. The first one was Happily Ever After by the Frosted Pumpkin. And my goal for Whip Go for this project, whenever it's called, is to finish a block. I had already done about a little over half of this block when I started, so I finished that and did the next block. So this is a project from this was a stitch along back in 2017, a monthly stitch along, and of course I started it in January and then petered out on the cross stitch after that. So, and then my other Whip Go for May was Winter Wonderland, which is a pattern by Dorothy Kanzi, and this is available through Historic Strickmeister. My German is not that good. It is, I purchased the pattern through the Silk app, which is an iOS app that they have where you can purchase patterns and use it to stitch. It's not exactly alike, but similar to Pattern Keeper, except you purchase the patterns through the app and use them in the app. So you can print the pattern from the app if you purchase it through the app. I actually prefer to have my pattern electronic because my eyes are getting old and I can zoom in, and then I just mark off through the app when I'm done. Anyway, so I finished, my goal for this for Whip Go was 5%. I actually did about 10% on it, I think. Basically, I just finished this block up here. And I haven't been saying it, but I will try to remember for each of these, for Happily Ever After that I just showed you, I will put a picture in. Hopefully when I have talked about it, I will put a picture in that shows you what it looks like when it's finished. And for this one, I will put a picture in that shows you what the whole project looks like when it's finished. This is another reason I need to do this more regularly, because then I wouldn't suck so bad when I do it. Excuse me. It's hard to remember all the things I'm supposed to say. So those were my May Whip Go projects. My June Whip Go projects were the Big Girl Panties finish that I've already shown you. And my goal for that was to finish it. And then my other June Whip Go is my One Nation, which I've shown you before. I will put a picture of the finished, what the finished project looks like there. I am still actively working on this, so I'm not going to take it off the Q-Snap. I have done, this is the star area. I'm about 2/3 over and still working on that. There's some more down here that's done, but since I got all my extra fabric scooped up pretty well right now, I didn't want to take this off to show you. I really would like to be able to stitch on an 11 by 11 Q-Snap to have more surface space, but I haven't really. I mean, I am physically short and my arms are kind of short, and I end up with too much arm, not pain, my arms just get tired. And I have started trying to stitch more with my Align stand that I bought. It's a lap stand, but I use it as a tabletop stand on my desk here in my craft room. And when I'm using that, I'm trying more to stitch two-handed so that I'm not because I've always been a right-handed, put it through with right hand, go under, pull it back under with the right hand. So I'm trying to get better about stitching with two hands, with my right underneath and my left on top. But even then, in 11 by 11 Q-Snap, I'm having to really stretch my arm under if I'm up at the top. And so there's no benefit to being able to stitch on a bigger space if it hurts for me to stitch the top half of the space. So I just stick to the 8 by 8 Q-Snap for the most part. I do have one set of scroll rods that I haven't really tried using yet, primarily because the bigger projects that I would put on there are actually a little too wide for them. And so I haven't found the best project to try the scroll rod thing with and see how that works. So anyway, it's a work in progress. What's next? So May, for a lot of people, was what a lot of people refer to as mania. And I am trying to convert myself to calling it May Mayhem, which is, I got from, I think, the 2 Martini Stitcher. I think she's the one that's been calling that. Because I just like that better because of, obviously, the mental health connotations with the word mania. So I do slip up sometimes and call it mania, but I'm trying to switch that to mayhem instead. So I showed you last time, I think I had just started the Barbara Anna, not Christmas tree, the Tree of Magic. I showed you that last time, so I'm not going to show you that again just because I have so much. But I'm going to show you the rest of my starts and what I did for May Mayhem, because one, my work schedule is so crazy I didn't have time to start something every day, and I did not want even 15 new whips, but I started something every weekend. So I started 5 new things in May, and I've started one more since then. So my second start for May was Bayou Cat. Put a picture of it up here because I don't think I have. No, I do. Here I do. That's what it looks like. This is a pattern by Owl Forest Embroidery. And I didn't get too much done on any of these. Let me take this off. I haven't gotten around. I need to scan this one. I haven't scanned it yet, so I'm doing paper pattern. The interesting thing that Owl Forest does is they, let me see, if you've never ordered an Owl Forest kit, so they send you the full pattern, which is all folded up, and I just dropped something. But they also send you another piece that is bits of the pattern in little pieces, and I was looking for a little tiny piece, one of the smaller pieces that wouldn't give much away, to kind of flash at you real quick. But so it gives you little pieces of the pattern that you can cut up. So what I've been doing is with my needle minder, I've had it, you know, the pattern like clipped to my project so that it's right there at me that I can see. That's not really the way I prefer to stitch, because I want to highlight if I'm using a paper pattern, I want to highlight as I go. I'm also not as partial to, these are color patterns and I prefer black and white, but I'm making it work. Anyway, let me show you what I've done. I got to figure which is up and which is down. So I haven't gotten a lot done. Basically, each of these that I started, I generally started on a Saturday, and, you know, I work to try to get at least about 500 stitches or so in on each one before I set it aside and worked on my other things. So I have done, that is, what is that? Oh, that's a little bit of the tail right here, I think is where that started. I think in the middle of the tail. I started in the middle of the pattern because this is a kit and obviously it's just enough fabric to do it. I didn't want to risk trying to start at the top left. And actually I'm generally, if on a pattern like that where it's not more solid blocks or certain, you know, like a motif here, motif there, I tend to do start in the center. Full coverage, I like to start in the top left. Most, if it's block, you know, like obviously if it's a thing that looks kind of like it's pieces of a month or just obvious blocks, I like to start in the top left. But anyway, so I started that. That was my second May start. My third May start was something that I showed you as a new pattern last time, and that is O Feathers by Rosewood Manor. This is the pattern. This was a new release this year for, what did they call it? Stitch Expo? Needlework Expo? Whatever they did is the online replacement for Nashville market. I am doing this with sulky thread this is my first time using sulky thread. And I actually started this one bottom left, mainly because I didn't want to try to figure out, you know, 3 inches in and then have to count over to kind of start up here. So I did 3 inches in from bottom left and bottom and started down here instead, since that was more square. So so that's all I've done so far. I am liking using the sulky. I do like stitching with 1 thread instead of 2. Just because, you know, you don't have to deal with the threads twisting on themselves and stuff. My fourth start for May was a little kit that a friend of mine gave me. I love dragonflies for no real reason, and I just like them. And for the most part, I show my dragonfly fixation through wearing dragonfly earrings almost every day when I wear regular earrings. These are regular earrings. These earrings stay in all the time, but my bottom holes I switch out every day when I go to work. So anyway, this is a little kit from Little Leaf Designs. Well, the pattern was Little Leaf Designs. I'm not sure if that's who kitted it up or not, but anyway, it's called Dragonfly 3. And this is not just cross stitch. It has some specialty stitches, some satin stitch and stuff. That dragonfly in the middle is actually a charm that came with the kit. Which, where is it? Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I think it was in bag. So, little charm. And there's some beads that go on it. And my thread card. All I have done so far is just the first cross stitch in a ring, and then I started the satin stitch on the outside. So that's just a cute little kit that I've had. My friend of mine gave me, I think for my birthday or for Christmas a couple years ago. when I wasn't really actively cross stitching, but she knew that I had and did sometimes, and so I figured I could. I don't know that I can knock it out because of I haven't done a lot of specialty stitches. So while the satin stitch like isn't hard, you have to be more meticulous than I usually am about making sure my like threads are laying side by side and that sort of stuff. So, and then the last thing that I started, whoops, not that one. The last thing that I started for May Mayhem is, and this one is actually in a, I didn't tell you who all those bag makers were, did I? But I want to show you because I'd like to. This one I don't remember the name of who I got that from. If I can remember to look this up, I think this one was Stitchy Toolbox, maybe. I think that's right, but I will, if that's not right, I will put it on the screen here, who that made that one. This one is Lynn X Stitch Creates has started doing a quarterly bag, and this was the quarterly bag that came out in March. If you're interested in hers, you need to follow her on Instagram, Lynn X Stitch Creates, and she will post when we just had one that came out in June, which I don't have a project in at the moment. It was lightning bugs. It was really cute. So the next one will be September, I guess. And then this one is blue on the back. Inside it has cute little kind of retro-y elephants and kittens dressed up in cute costumes. This one, I can't remember her name, but she is actually from my hometown, Buckleberry Quilts. Get my finger out of the way. I actually heard about her on Brenda and the Serial Stitcher talked about her, and then they said she was from Reidsville, North Carolina, which is where I grew up. So of course I immediately had to go and order a bag for her. So that one's also very nice and real well made, and has little, it's not Rick Rag, but it's not quite pom-poms either. Some kind of little, I can't think of the word, trim, some kind of little trim on there. So anyway, so those were all of my May starts. And like I said, all of those, no, there weren't. I've got to get to this one, sorry. Totally out of it. So this one is actually in a box because of the amount of thread and beads. So I have started my first Mirabilia, and I'm doing the Snow Queen. I am not only, I really like Christmas, but it's not, I like Santa like Christmas, but what I'm really drawn to is the wintry Christmas stuff. So of course my unicorn dream chart would be Lady of the Flag, which of course is out of print. So, and the rare copy that I've seen is more than I can justify spending at the moment. But maybe one of these days I'll get lucky and either they'll reprint it, or I will come across a copy either at a time that I'm willing to spend the money or that is not quite as expensive. But anyway, the Snow Queen is the one I decided to start. And I actually bought this kit off of Amazon, but I can't remember, but whoever was selling it was, I think, like a cross stitch store or some kind of craft store. So this is, it came with, yeah, I got all the D&C, but it came with the called for fabric, the called for Karen water lily thread, and all the called for chronic and beads and all that. So it came with the bead packs and all that stuff. So what I have done so far is just, I started in the middle, which is right there where that finger's tapping, kind of that block of blue is what I have done so far. And that's showing up really almost, I think that's, to y'all looks almost white, but it's really light blue. That's a little better. So that is all I have done on that so far. But I'm enjoying that. I did have to, on this one, I actually had to take, well, in part because I didn't think ahead, and the weekend I wanted to start it was Memorial Day weekend. I had to take my chart to Office Depot and have them scan it for me, because we have a little, printer scanner here, but of course the Mirabilia chart was much bigger. So I did a center start on that one just because there was no good way with that chart as well to start anywhere else, in my opinion. Sorry, I was just checking to make sure I got through all that. So then I have one more new start since I last recorded. I have started watching Stitching in the Land of Good Enough, Pam. And I have a feeling that, I don't know, Pam is just the type of person that I think if I were able to hang out with her in real life, we would be very good friends. Because I am also about the land of good enough. But anyway, she hosts a Zoom a couple of times a month for anyone stitching Hawk Run Hollows. And I have Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, a year at Hawk Run Hollow, and Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. And I've been itching to stitch one, and I finally decided, and her Zoom finally convinced me to start Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. And I'll put a picture of it here, because I scanned the pattern, so I put my paper pattern away for now. And so I started this on her Zoom last week, and this is just as far as I've gotten. I am doing this on, I am actually doing this 1/1 on 27 count even weave. Mainly to bring the size a little bit more smaller. As I mentioned, I don't have a lot of wall space, and this is something I would like to frame and hang. So, and I do 1/1 on 25 or 28 count on my full coverage pieces, so it's not that big of a deal as long as I have my granny glasses. So anyway, that's what I have done on that. I have pulled all the oops, sorry, I just shook the table that the camera's on. I've pulled all the called for DMC on that, but I'm going to kind of go block by block and may make some substitutions. One, because the called for fabric is like a light beigey sampler tan, and the one I'm using is actually more of a grayish color. So there's some of the squares that have a lot of browns in them that I think I might either switch. If not, I'll at least switch maybe some tones. I might actually switch to more of a blue than a brown. And then a couple other things, like on this first block, there's like what is supposed to be like 4 teals, but the one that's supposed to be the darkest in DMC is more of a green than a teal, so I don't think it quite looks right. So I've pulled a different DMC that's more of a blue than a green to be my darker one, and I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I'm gonna play and see. Once I get to where I need that 4th color and against the others, I'm gonna see what looks best. And so as I go through each square, I'll probably make some adjustments to that, and we'll try to record that in my spreadsheet that I have below if you're interested in seeing those. So that at almost 40 minutes in is all of my whips, or all of the ones that I've worked on since the last time. I think I may have put a few stitches into Treasure Hunt Bookshelf, but not, I know I've put a few stitches. Actually, I was trying in May. I should have brought that and I didn't, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Quarantine Cats, I was trying in May to get like 4,700 stitches in that for a game on Semi-Sane, and I just didn't. I got to 3,000 in some. So I probably should have brought that to show you, but really it's, most of it's like black and it's a full coverage piece. So there's not much detail to show. So next time you see it will be even more. Anyway, not just semi-sane. Facebook right now is really messed up with being able to reply to your threads and events and stuff. So I have given up for June on events and semi-sane Stitcher. I was trying to keep up with it on my phone so that when Facebook glitch was hopefully resolved, I could post all that. But I just can't deal with it anymore. Everything you try to post as reply either will not go through, or if it does, it looks like it goes through, and then you go back later and it's disappeared. So I'm done for semi-sane in June, other than if they post a chore for scavenger hunt, I will try to get that done and post it if possible, just so I don't get booted out of scavenger hunt. But I'm giving up on the rest of trying to get any points and stuff. So hopefully they will get it resolved by July. I am hoping to do bingo in July. I haven't really started my board yet. I'm waiting till June 27th to see what the WIPGO numbers are for next month, so I can definitely include whatever colors are in those two projects, or pick, depending on what gets called. Several of my blocks for WIPGO are whatever 2021 start I want to work on. So if one of those blocks gets called, which one I pick may depend on which of the bingo slots I need more numbers in. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Semi-Sane Stitchers on Facebook, I can't remember, there's a password to join, and I can't remember what this month's password is. I will try to remember to put below what this month's password is to join Semi-Sane Stitchers if you're interested in that. Anyone can join, but it is a group that they want you to be active in. So it's not a group to join if you just want to lurk and not participate in the games and the events and stuff. So anyway, so like I said, if I can remember, I will try to put the password for June down below if you're interested in joining that group. So, and there are questions you have to answer to join. If you don't answer the questions, they will not let you in. So be aware of that. I didn't, give me just a minute. Okay, I had to reach over. I had my notes to do this, but I had to reach over and get it because I had not put it within reach. So I did do a giveaway, or did show about a giveaway on my last episode, and I'm giving away this chart. It's a cross-stitch chart called Let's Have Fun with Yarn from Imaginating, designed by Ursula Michael. And I asked you to put the word yarn in the comments. And I had 2 comments, but only one used the word yarn. So Silver's Dreamland, you are the winner of this chart. And I only know you as Silver because that's all you ever say on your podcast, at least that I have heard. But if you will email me at criminallycreativepodcast@gmail.com or private message me on Instagram at Criminally Creative Podcast with your real name and mailing address, I will get this in the mail to you as soon as I can. Like I said, there's not a lot of people that watch, so if you enter, you might win something. I did not do a giveaway for this time because I didn't have time to really figure out what that was going to be. So I'm probably not going to do one every time, but I will try to do one sometime again in the future. If you tell your friends and I get some more viewers, I'm more likely to do a giveaway. Anyway, so July plans mainly are just to keep up with Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along, finish the Made to Create when the last clue comes out on the 25th, do my July WIPGO, and then also I may do a little bit of Christmassy type stitching. So anyway, but I do have some stashing for retirement to show you. So I guess when my podcast was primarily knitting, my theory was always I buy a lot of yarn and I wasn't going to generally show it until I was using it, just because unless it was something special or unique or different or whatever. Of course, now that I've got more into the cross stitch and I'm watching a lot more Floss Tube, I know it seems people seem really interested in seeing what charts and stuff everybody's buy. So I'm not always going to show you everything I buy, but I do have quite a bit that's come in the last couple weeks that I thought I'd at least give you an idea, a little bit better idea of the type of thing I like to cross stitch by showing you what I've been buying lately a little bit and some of the fabric I've gotten. Like I belong to a couple of clubs that I'm not necessarily good. Like I do Bestitch Me. I'm not going to show you the last one I got of that because I know several people get that. A lot of people get that, and several people that I watch have shown it already. But I thought I'd show you a few things that I did get, and maybe some makers or dyers or designers as far as the fabric and floss go that you might not be familiar with, and then just kind of give you an idea of some of the charts that I've got recently. So for fabric, I have, set this down, I'm shaking the camera. For one, I have joined, if you don't watch Steel City, if you watch Steel City Stitchers or don't watch Steel City Stitchers, they have a video that Erin did that shows the new way she's come up with to store her fabric, and I have jumped on the bandwagon because I think it's brilliant. And that is using the comic book inserts that they use to keep the comic books flat and wrapping your fabric around it. And then right now I have a bin so that they all just stand up and you can see what you have. And I'm realizing I did these backwards because I should have done them so that this flaps down and doesn't keep flapping. But anyway, and I'm actually, I think the next couple of days going to go buy a small file cabinet to keep them in, because I also need a better way than I'm using to keep my chart. So I think I'm going to get a 2-drawer file cabinet and put fabric in one drawer and charts in another. So anyway, these first two are hand dyed by Rolanda. She is on Etsy, which is hand dyed by Rolanda. And this is 36 count linen in Victorian Rose. See if I can set these there without knocking the camera too bad. This is 40 count linen by hand dyed by Rolanda in Dove Gray. And that is, it's definitely a very blue gray. That right there is probably pretty good. And then I thought, I know, oops, it's probably not best to set this on my table. Most of y'all have probably heard of XJU Design, but I had not tried their fabric before, so I ordered a couple from her directly. This is 40 count linen by XJU Design in Dark Peacock. And this is a fat half that I got. Haven't decided. I'm thinking part of this might be is it called Winter Quaker? The pattern that Liz Matthews put out last year with the snowflakes. I really want to do the version of that that's on the darker fabric, and I've been looking for the right kind of blue background. That's a contender for that. I haven't decided yet. And then 36 count linen from XJU Design in My Little Dove, which is also a light gray. I definitely have a strong preference for grays as a neutral over browns. I mean, not that I wouldn't do anything on a brown, but as far as it goes with accumulating stash, I tend more towards grays than browns. And then floss, a couple of things that I've gotten. Several people have showed floss from this dyer recently, Forbidden Fiber Co. And she also dyes knitting yarn as well, which I think I may have something from her in yarn that I bought a while back. But somebody I watch on a podcast, and I can't remember who it was, because I've seen a couple people show her floss recently. But whoever I saw first recently mentioned that she had some Neil Diamond colorways, and that drew me to her website. And of course I didn't buy all the Neil Diamond colorways, and then of course I bought more than Neil Diamond colorways. Actually I only bought 2 or 3. 4 Neil Diamond colorways. Anyway, so I'll just show you what I got from Forbidden Fiber Co. as that's the card. So I got Chalkboard, which, you know, typical gray. Quarter Quail, which is a Hunger Games reference, I believe. Purple Rain, because I was a teenager in the 80s, and who can resist a Prince purple. Old Penny. English Rose. Kind of. And there's, I don't know if you can see, there you can see a little bit, a little bit of variegation in there where it's lighter pink and more of a red down there. Teal Mishmash. Rose Hip. Indigo. Just a blue. Peacock, which is another variegated that's got some good blues and greens in it. Gingerly. Garland, which is a really dark green. Sterling, just kind of a purpley silver. And then I think this is a Neil Diamond reference. I'm not 100% sure. Beautiful Noise. I'm pretty sure that's a Neil Diamond song, which is blues and purples, variegated. Forever in Blue Jeans, which is definitely Neil Diamond. Blues, just a hint of variegation. I Am, I Said, which is like a, there's a hint of green in there. And then Holly Holy, which is also Neil Diamond. So, got all those. And then, someone I have found on Etsy that I have ordered from a couple of times, who does floss and some fabric, but she does floss in small batches. So she will have 2 or 3 colors up at a time, and I don't know exactly how many she has, but, you know, once that's gone, it's gone, so to speak. I have seen some colors repeated occasionally, but, or at least one color I've seen repeated. So I don't know how often she repeats her colors. So it's kind of like if you see it, you have to get it. So I tend to, you know, I'll order 2 or 3 skeins from her, and that's it. So these are the recent ones that I got from, I'm sorry, her name is, well, the shop is A Wicked Stepmother. And this is Blue Bayou. Silver Wings. I don't know if I can get, that is a, it's like a, almost a tan with a hint of silver. It's hard to describe. Hey Jude, which is a variegated like grays and tans. Brown, dark brown and tan. And Pretty Flamingo, which is a very corally pinky color. And then I also from her got a little set of counting pens that I just thought were cute. That are kind of like bee-like. Actually, they say Wicked, and I think that's what she named the set, is Wicked. But oops, and I've lost a tip on there. There was a stopper on the end of that one. I don't use counting pens a lot, but every once in a while they come in handy, so I like to have a couple nearby. And then, so I ordered the Mirabilia. Will be the first time that I have ever done any beading on cross stitch. I've done beading on knitting, but not on cross stitch. And I didn't have any beading needles, so I figured the best way to get beading needles words was to just order a couple Mill Hill kits that come with the beading needles. So I ordered a couple little beaded ornaments from Mill Hill, and I'm pretty sure I got these from 123 Stitch. So I got the Holiday Flamingo, which I haven't decided who that's going to be for yet. I have a good friend who loves flamingos, and then my brother-in-law apparently loves flamingos too. So I don't know. And at least one of these will probably get done in July when I'm kind of doing a little bit of Christmas. And then I got Holly Elf. And as I mentioned, I love dragonflies, so I got Sapphire Dragonfly, which is one of their dragonfly ones. So that would definitely be for me, probably to just hang year round whenever I do it. So I got those, and then I got several charts. So I am quickly realizing that absolutely one of my favorite designers is Plum Street. That's just my jam. So I did get, well, let me show you the ones that aren't Plum Street first. So I got this, I think from 123 Stitch, Be Merry. I think I'm going to do this on a smaller count fabric and turn it into a Christmas ornament for my sister possibly, because she really likes bees. And then I got Silver Creek Sampler Seeds of Freedom. I think Kristen from Steel City Stitchers, I don't know if she's doing this or if she showed it, showed the pattern. I can't remember, but anyway, I'd like historical stuff too, so I bought that one. Plum Street came out with some new patterns, and I had to have a couple of them. So the first one I got is Flag Flock, which I'll turn sideways so you can actually see what it looks like. Because, you know, sheep and fiber and yarn and stuff and patriotic at the same time. Gotta have it. We Will Always Remember. Eagles get me, both for the patriotic and, like I said, my username on Ravelry is Legal Eagle, so I like eagles. And then the Equality Sampler came out, so I had to have that. And then I was watching somebody else's podcast, and again, I'm sorry I can't remember who, and found out that in addition to the Equality Sampler, in 2018, Plum Street had come out with a new constellation, which kind of goes with that. So I had to have that. And in 2016, they had come out with Heritage Sampler, which also is kind of in the same, I don't know if it's a series or just the same vein, but had to have that. And then those last three I bought, well, no, those last two and the Silver Creek I bought on, the last ones I bought on, some of these I bought from 123 Stitch. Some of them I bought from Fire Poppies, and and some of them I bought from Everything Cross Stitch, but I don't remember what's what. I know this one came from Everything Cross Stitch because it just came in yesterday, and it's just something I saw while I was on there that says, I don't have insomnia, I have a really good book and no respect for tomorrow, which, well, the bottom part is true for me. I actually do have insomnia and have since I was a kid, but a lot of times I'm up really late because I'm really into a book and I just don't know what time it is because I'm not tired because I have insomnia and I can't sleep. Anyway, so I think that's everything I wanted to show you that I've gotten haul-wise lately. So I don't know when I will start any of those patterns. We'll see. Like I said, I'm always itching to start everything, but I am trying to keep the cross stitch whips manageable. Although interestingly, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to do next year's managing my whips. I think I'm really enjoying the Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along, but right now I'm leaning towards I don't want to do a year-long stitch along next year, or at least I don't want to do it where I want to keep up with it. I'm sure that Jacob's stitch along next year I will love just as much. But I may, if I started, I may not start at January 1. I may wait later in the year to start it and just make it a regular WIP so that I don't feel that, oh, I got to get it finished before the next part comes out. Because as much as I love that, it sucks up a lot of my cross stitch time, just because I feel like I need to either work on a little bit every day or whatever. So I'm thinking about my stuff for next year, and or I guess I don't want to abandon kind of the way I've planned things for this year, and I don't want to give up on staying up with the Modern Folk Embroidery stitch along for this year. But I'm thinking next year I'm going to do something a little different. I really like WIP Go. And I also, there's a podcast called Blitz Stitch, and I think his name is Brian. Excuse me. I'm not 100% sure that his real name is Brian. I think that's right. Anyway, what he does is he has a focus project that he works on every other week, and then the weeks between, he does a rotation through his other projects. So he'll like work on his focus project for a week. The next week he works on his first WIP. The next week he works on his focus project. The next week he works on his second WIP. So that every WIP he gets through a rotation of over a period of months, but he's got one project that's getting worked on every other week, so it hopefully gets finished sooner. I like that idea, but I also know myself, and I know that it will be hard for me to not get distracted and to make myself work on one project for a solid week. So I haven't figured out how it's going to quite work. I got 6 more months. But anyway, I mean, for the most part right now, I'm trying to stay consistent on my Modern Folk Embroidery. The Made to Create will be over after I finish once we get the 6th part and be over. The WIP Goes don't take, to get my actual goals for my month, don't take that much. But I'm also trying to still do some knitting, and I've got the blankets that I'm doing WIP Go for. And the long and the short of it is there are too many things I want to do, and there's not enough time to do it because I still have to work for a living, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out a way to not let things languish too long, but still enjoy what I'm doing. And I don't know, I'm a planner, so just thinking and pondering now in preparation for next year will get it in my mind, so by the time January rolls around, I'll feel more comfortable with what my plan is and stuff. So anyway, I'm babbling now. I think that's it. I'm going to go. I've got to call a friend, and we've got to do some Carolina Fiber Fest planning, which, for your information, we are planning for Carolina Fiber Fest next March 2022 in person. Cross your fingers. We have notified vendors. We are working on selecting workshops. I am hopefully going to have knitting craft along patterns, those designers notified soon. If you are a crochet designer, we still need a crochet pattern for the craft along. Anyway, so keep an eye on the website over the next few months as things get posted up. Workshops won't open until sometime in the fall, I don't think. But we are definitely planning for March. My understanding as of right now is that SAF will be in person the last weekend in October, the last full weekend. It's like the 23rd to the 25th of October. That is all my definite plans for fiber type events right now. If something pops up and I can't, my work is really weird this year as far as schedule goes. And when my work, if you haven't been around for a while, I work for the North Carolina State Legislature, and normally they're not fully there in the fall. It's just study committee meetings and stuff. But because of redistricting and the delay in the census numbers, we are anticipating that they probably will be there at least part of the fall, and that kind of throws my time that I usually go to fiber events and take time off and stuff into whack, because we don't know at the moment what that's going to be. So I can't really plan, but so definitely. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you will come back to see me again. And please like if you liked it. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. I'm like sitting right below 100 subscribers, and while I don't really, I do this to share, and I will keep doing it whether I have 100 subscribers or I have 100,000 subscribers, which would never happen. But it would be nice to have a few more. It would be nice to get to that 1,000 level and be able to have the few more options that are available, like the community posts and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate if you tell your friends about it. And if you didn't, I'd appreciate if you just don't thumbs down me. And I will hopefully see you a little sooner than I did last time. But of course, I say that every time, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So anyway, hope y'all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye, y'all.